I'm Hemanth, taking care of open innovation with startups, both internal and external. We have a program called DNA for the DNA Startup Alliance program. And additionally, I'm also a part of the Global Grow program, which does corporate venturing for internal startups. Yeah. The startup ecosystem, what we have today in India is quite humongous, growing year on year. I mean, this is from NASCOM, but this year we have close to 20 startups already in the first half of the year. The key trends which are really reflecting India's startup ecosystem are because of scenarios like COVID. There's been a tremendous shift, a paradigm shift in the founders' playbook. Many of them had to really repivot, had to think on how to change their strategy to really be up and running. And additionally, the focus on deep tech is really growing. Topics including higher-end robotics, the 5G, quantum computing are now really taking on into the technology space. What started off with AR, VR, AI, ML is now becoming deeply embedded into the corporate businesses. So India is becoming a home for unicorns, where we have highly growing, exponentially growing unicorns year on year. And what is interesting to see is also the consistent corporate participation in this. So a lot of corporates have realized that it is important to be to have the startups as a part of their strategy and not just have working with startups as one more additional topic in their agenda. So again, from NASCOM, coming from NASCOM, the slide actually showcases how increasingly open innovation is playing a major role in startups, with 75% of the corporates also going in for open innovation. I'll quickly cover what kinds of engagement is possible in this. But we also are seeing investments from external venture capitalists across the globe onto these new age startups, and mergers and acquisitions, especially in the newer areas. If I want to talk about electrification, autonomous driving, as well as in topics like analytics, healthcare, what we just spoke about. A lot of active involvement with startups is happening. And we also see why there is a need for these open innovation programs, right? So there are a lot of these startups working with the corporates. These are just examples, right? There are a lot of corporates already into it and working very closely with startups in various formats. But if we need to look at why there's a need to work with these startups, one is, of course, the stability of the corporate is being augmented by the agility of the startups. The lean startup approach of experimentation, quick customer discovery is really becoming more and more important and a part of the everyday life. And this is, in fact, helping the corporates to really test out and make their mark in the ecosystem. So coming to Bosch, Bosch is a global company headquartered in Germany, but spread across 140 plus units, 140 plus cities, globally across from North America to Japan, with its footprint everywhere. And if I have to give an example of what are the different engagement modes that we do with a startup as overall Bosch, we right from consulting, coaching, and mentoring the startups, right? Where these startups need a hands-on guidance on several aspects. It may be related to business models, the pricing, or it may be related to the technology space, where we are talking about tech application into the domain, right? So the domain experts really come into a picture where they help in what are the problem statements in the industries. So at Bosch, we do this. DNA Next actually plays a major role in this. The second one is what we call the incubators and the accelerators. In Berlin, there's a startup harbor where Bosch plays a major role, where along with the space, a lot of support is given to startups to really work on their problem statements to come up towards success. DNA Next also in India is where we actually run yearly cohorts with 15 to 20 startups, where we look at problem statements coming in from the startups and taking it to a POC or a demonstrator or a joint go-to-market with customer. The third aspect is the venture clienting, right? Where there's a new concept where a lot of open innovation topics are really coming to picture, where there's no direct investment into the startup, but there's a nurturing of the startup and whatever is required for building the demonstrators, the proof of concepts, there's a funding done for that. And these are all based on the potential end impact. And the businesses which are working with the startups also put their skin into the game, thereby enabling an ecosystem, a scenario where there's a joint cohesion, there's a joint effort towards success. It could be either through tech co-creation or go-to-market partnerships. There's an Open Bosch initiative running from our venture capital team in Germany, and it's a network of the organization where, as DNA Next, for the mature startups, we're also a part of the Open Bosch network as venture managers, actively involved in bringing in global and local startups together, right? Indian startups for German corporates, German startups for Bosch in India. So this is going on really well and picking up well. The final one, of course, we all know is the venture capitalist, where investment, mergers and acquisitions play a major role. So a quick look at what we have in DNA. DNA is a platform which stands for Discover, Nurture, and Align. As a part of this, we bring in the problem statements from our internal business units across Bosch in India. It is from domain perspective, we work with healthcare, Industry 4.0, automotive, retail as some of the segments. And from a technology perspective, it involves artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, camera analytics, quantum computing. These are all some of the aspects where we work with startups to really look at what value add the startups can actually put in, and we can take it to the next level. As a part of the DNA Next, we have various business units from our side, the Bosch unit as a sponsor. We work with VCs, we work with accelerators. Then we also work with our partners and government organizations as well. We work closely with GINSEP, NASCOM. Last time we had also tied up with Your Story for our campaigns, as well as we work with Israeli consulates, the Australian accelerators. So this helps us to build an ecosystem where we are ready for the global arena. The startup can actually reach out to the global market, but also internally, it gives us the knowledge about what's happening in the world. Yeah, the focus for us from DNA Next would be either co-creation, where we're talking about new tech, new IP. It could be about the GTM partnership, where it could be a white labeled approach or a strategic vendor for go-to-market. Or the final one, of course, is a strategic interest where we have certain startups which were there with us also being invested on. Yeah. So I have a video. I don't know if the sound would be audible, but I would. So this talks about the DNA startup ecosystem, where we have, as a part of the global unit, we work closely with a lot of startups in this world. So we know that the startup ecosystem is a $3 trillion economy, and coming to India, India is a home of startups where we have more than 115 billion worth of startups. We have a lot of technologies coming into picture playing a major role. Hence, in Bangalore, India, we have set up the DNA as a key contributor towards this corporate startup engagement, where D stands for Discover, where we bring in the problem statements, run pitch tests for the startups. N is the nurture, and A is aligned. With nurture, we have a cohort where we help the startup to work with the units, and align is where they in turn align with the final business units. Yeah, we work with real-time customer and technology problems. We work with hands-on engagement. We give access to our experts, consultants, domains, help with the go-to-market strategies. We also utilize the startups to fill the gaps where it is not a core competency of Bosch. Right? This way, it helps us to really engage them with a view of long-term engagement and not just to experiment with them. So this way, we actually bring in a lot of our expertise. It could be the business model expertise, IP, it could be the office space, it could also be the legal and IP insights which we bring in. So these are also all the accesses that we give to the startups. And this is where we also give them access to various facilities which I talked about, depending on the needs. So we have many successful collaborations already going on till now, 4,000 plus applications, 70 plus startups which have graduated. And we are also a network partner, as I told about with the Global Open Bosch status. Thanks to all the startups and our business units, we actually lead by the tagline of inspire, ideate, and innovate. So with this, I would also like to say this is a very good opportunity for the startups to be really looking at the next big things. And I would stop with these DNA Next success stories, where we have worked with startups across multiple technologies and domains, right from robotics to cybersecurity, AI on chip, and also on the AI, ML, and natural language. Thank you so much for this, and I wish the team all the best, and all the startups who are a part of it the best wishes.